if you can tell us the background about landscaping and then switching to farming.
So we still do both.
Okay.
So I've been in the horticulture industry since 1991. We started our business in 1998. So that's 22, 23 years that we've been in the horticulture industry. We've made a switch, trying to switch totally over, but we haven't gotten there yet. Our horticulture business is thriving. I mean, it's a legitimate business that gives us nice income, and it's hard to let go of it. I consider it our crutch, but I'd like to get off the crutch. So this is our 5th year farming. We started the farm as a means to grow vegetables. We have a healthy lifestyle. We believe that you are what you eat. And that started for us around 2010. We started changing as a family and really conscious of what we ate and what we consumed. Our 2 oldest sons had allergies and all kinds of asthma and problems, and my wife had the same, and my family had been riddled with poor health, and we just became very proactive as to what we consumed as a family as far as food goes. And we started a really nice raised bed, formal garden in our backyard, raising vegetables, and that led to a fact of, wow, we really want to do this, and I want to pursue this as a living. And that all stemmed from me visiting a friend of ours who bought 18 acres in Saxville, North Carolina, and I visited their farm after they had been going for about a year and spent the day with them, and was totally blown away, and left there driving home. And the only thing I could think of was how do I make this switch? How do I make this a living? So that took us 3 years from that point to find land. We hired a farm consultant who helped us come up with a business model of growing off-season. So our farm is basically set up to be an off-season farm, which means we thrive now until next July, and then we take a small summer break. So we're a little off-kilter of a normal farm in the fact that most farms are spring, summer, fall. We're fall, winter, and mostly spring, early summer. Really differentiates ourselves from the others. So, but yeah, that's how we've got started with this, is we wanted to pursue selling vegetables to our community.
And how did you start the store?
The store came about after selling. We sold at the Greensboro Curb Market for a year or two. We had so many people drive by wanting to buy produce from us, and I had an epiphany that, to me, the best thing for my business is to be able to just sell direct to my client, and the best way for me to do that is to create an outlet that's ours. The farmers market was great. It was a great way for us to get our name in the community and to get a following, but yet they're the middleman, and without them we would be hurting. So if I can get around that, what's best for us. So we started the store in fall of I think it was Halloween of 18. So we had already had the store almost a year before the pandemic hit last year. And it was a hard sell for us, really, because a lot of our business was at the market downtown. It was hard for me to convince those customers to drive out here as long as we were there every Saturday. So last year, during the pandemic, it was probably a blessing and a curse, because it was so good for us business-wise. And the fact that the market closed, the city shut it down in March for COVID. Those customers had nowhere to go, and we had a storefront. We had already set up online shopping, so we were so far ahead of my competitors at the market, who are now struggling because they were solely dependent upon the market as a means to mostly move their vegetables. So yeah, we were really happy we started the store. The store now is thriving. We make more than we ever did selling at the market. Easy commute, easy setup. We don't have to leave and be at the crack of dawn. We open at 9, which is, to me, better than that market opened at 7 o'clock in the morning. So getting up at 4:30, 5 o'clock, loading, driving, selling till 12, packing up, driving home. Took up a lot of our Saturday. Now it's 7:30, 8 o'clock. We open at 9, and 30 minutes after we're done, we're home already. So it's best case scenario for us.
So how did you, I'm sure there was convincing of the family, because all the family is an element, they're an element in the farms as far as you're doing marketing, you're doing tech, you're doing harvesting, and, customer interaction. What does each person play in the role?
Yeah, so it's my dream, and then my wife has gotten behind me. We both feel that we've been led to farming by God, and we feel this is our calling for the community. So we have a deep passion for that. But my wife found really quickly after 2 months that this is not for her per se. But my wife is very busy homeschooling 4 kids. So she's our homemaker. She has her entity that is highly important. The biggest thing for the farm was a place to have a family business, for me to work from home, to be with my family since they are homeschooled. That was the biggest thing for me. And then as my 2 older sons have gotten older, they've been involved. We wanted to be able to teach them work ethic, how to work, make their own money, to be able to buy things with their money, save their money, interaction with customers. Being homeschooled, it's another layer of school. Not all schooling comes from a textbook. There's so many more facets of life, and these boys are learning it, from life, death with chickens, to how to raise vegetables, prepare vegetables, and interact with the customer in a business sense. So my 2 older sons, my oldest son is our store manager. They operate the store, they help set up the store, they interact with customers, they're our cashier, and then they also help pack and wash vegetables. Neither one of them have per se got into the production side of it yet, and for us as a model, as a family, you have to be careful that you don't push your kids too much. Like, I could force things on my kids, but I'm afraid they would hate the whole scenario, and that's what we've been trying to nurture. That they don't leave our home and hate farming. We pay them pretty well, and that's my philosophy: is you work for the family business. There's no reason you should do that for free. And it's been really, really good for them to be able to earn their own money. But yeah, and my customers love it because they come here and it's a family atmosphere. They get to interact with my kids, and I feel our kids are special. And
So you have livestock that you do in addition to agricultural products?
yeah, so we have 230 laying hens. We have mobile coops that are made out of hay wagons that we move every 2 days on pasture. We have this choreographed dance that we do across my pasture, to where every 2 days we're moving them. We call it a fresh diaper, fresh grass. So we get to concentrate their manure in one spot for 2 days, and then we move them, and then we move them, and then move them, and they're always on fresh pasture to get away from their manure. But they're also concentrating that manure is really helping for the fertility of our pasture. We don't need to do anything to it. But the consumption of really good grasses make for a deep, rich orange yolk. Our customers can tell the difference. It makes for the healthiest chicken, which gives us a really healthy egg. So we love the eggs. We don't make a lot of money on it. Sometimes it's our biggest, it's our trap here on the homestead because we can't get away because of animals. It's really difficult. Twice a day you have to deal with them. We would love to have more animals, but after having chickens, we're like, wow, it's really hard to get away. The farm we can leave, but the chickens are really hard. But we do it is because it's a great added item to our store. It draws people in, and they're delicious. They're easy to sell, so we have no problem selling them. But yeah, we do those plus our organic vegetables. The store also offers other local artisan foods that we bring in that are very high quality to give our customers more of a one-stop shop instead of traveling from Greensboro or wherever just to buy vegetables and eggs. We thought that would probably not be the best case scenario, but if we could offer a variety of local artisan foods, that would be a better sale tool to get people to come out.
And I noticed that you have like an intern, or
So we have one full-time employee who works here. We have several employees who work on my horticulture business, but we have one full-time employee that works here. And then I would consider my oldest son works part-time hours. He works around 22 hours a week. And my 15-year-old younger son, he works a little bit less, but he also has a scone business. So he sells cookies and scones each market day that we're open. We're open twice a week. But that's a legitimate business for him. So he works a little bit less hours, but he also has to make time for that.
So how would you get a young person who, like you had mentioned, not burning out your kids, how would you foresee getting more younger people interested in farming and not feeling like, because this is a big operation.
Yeah, but we're smaller than most. We're a hand-tended farm, so we do no tractor. Everything is done by hand. We have no motorized equipment. Everything, we use broad fork. I mean, but everything's done by hand. So we're only a little over a third of an acre, but we're very intensive, high production on a small amount of property. The greenhouses give us a ton of production, but we just can grow a lot on a small area. Labor is a big issue moving forward. It's our biggest concern, because there's only so much that we can pay someone based upon what people are willing to pay for vegetables. I believe we are on the high side, but our vegetables are very high quality. So we cater to a certain person who wants that high quality vegetable, and that's what we have as customers. But yeah, moving forward, me and my wife, I'm 48, soon hitting 50, but the average age of farmers in North Carolina are 62, 63, 64, so they're moving out. But what we tried to do is set up a farm that's innovative, that's cutting edge, that's doing something that's different from the norm, that would be able to attract a young person who wants to be able to learn something that's being done in the not so normal way. My neighbors are third generation dairy farmers and old school farmers, and they ride by and see what we do. I believe in the beginning they might have thought we were nuts, but I think now they're firm believers because they see the production and how much we move through here. But yeah, that's our goal, is to be able to have a place that's innovative. It's a little bit different from your typical farm, that would be attractive for people to come work. But yeah, so I think that's the biggest thing, is are there young people who want to work and work hard, because it's hard work. But you come, there's a lifestyle, there's a working outside, working with your hands, working in the soil. Raising vegetables is the hardest thing I've ever done, but the most fulfilling, you know. But yeah, so that's a big concern for us moving forward, is because I think there's going to be a turnover. Just like the young lady that's with me, she wants to go start her own thing. So I am not used to that. In my horticulture business, I've got guys working with me for 18, 20 years. I'm not used to a yearly turnover. But I see that with farms. I think that's going to be the case. People want to try out different farms or come and learn for a season and then possibly move on.
So are you thinking that maybe that's an avenue for you to create a teaching farm, that you can have students that work, but they also learn?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing for us moving forward, is how do we retire on this piece of property? That's yet to be seen. How do we make that happen? As we get older, how do we keep the farm going? And it would have to be a younger generation stepping up. We've thought about how do we partner with someone. Because if you can incentivize the worker, it's somehow ownership. But we own the land, so how do we make that happen? But there's models that we're looking at as far as to get someone in and to incentivize them to stay. And more of maybe taking control of daily affairs or helping them to feel like they have some say. That's something that we're looking at. But us moving forward, trying to figure out how do we maintain this and keep this in our 60s and 70s, that's what it'll have to be. We'll have to be able to find the younger people to get involved And I don't know if that's a teaching farm or whatever that would be. I would love it because I enjoy that. But yeah, so we'll yet to be seen.
And I was surprised to see your farm model is mainly greenhouses. And it seems like that would be an initial expensive outlay in the beginning, but then maybe saving money in the long term.
Yeah, so I think we've been blessed. We've got a couple grants from NRCS, federal government, and we've actually had people invest. We had one of my customers invest money in the farm and then basically turned around and wrote it off, gave it to us, which just really blessed. But yeah, the infrastructure is key. I believe if a farm can do it, it's the way to go because we're protected from the elements. So many farms are at risk of weather. It's uncontrollable. It's hard for your wallet as a farmer. You put a lot of effort in something, a hurricane comes this time of year, or say spring snows, rains that are late, frosts that are late. We can protect our tomato crop from downpour rains in the summer, which keeps them disease free. Everything that we grow in the greenhouse grows better, easier, faster, less weed pressure, less bug pressure. Everything is better, easier. So the dollar on return per square foot is through the roof compared to what it would be outside. Just take for instance like greens. We grow that's our number one seller is salad greens. We do pre-washed, bagged, ready to eat salad greens, and we have a wide variety. It's our number one seller because we sell them every week of the year that we're open. So we have fresh salad greens every week. But this is what I liken it to. The greens that are grown in the protection of our greenhouse would be like a worker who works every day outside who always wears gloves. At night he takes his glove off and his hand is really tender. But the guy who doesn't, his hand is really calloused. Growing vegetables outside, the vegetables have to toughen up to the elements to withstand the elements that are getting poured on them. So they're not as tender, they're not as nice, they get dirtier. So we see a huge increase in quality by growing inside.
And probably less pesticides, less fertilizers, less water.
Everything. The only thing you have to be very mindful of is that we don't get rain inside. So you have to be very mindful of the fertility program you use. We're very cautious. We test 2 to 3 times a year. We're watching to make sure our salts are not building up. So you have to be very careful that you don't overdo it inside because you're not getting the flush that rains would typically give an outdoor plot. We do have overhead where we can water and simulate that, but we only do that a couple times a year. But yeah, everything indoors is much better than outside. We would cover the whole farm, but it's just not aesthetically pleasing to me. Plus there's so many things that just do okay outside that don't really need the nicer square footage of being indoors.
So, and where do you decide enough is enough? Like you're not going to grow it anymore, or you're just going to keep it the size that you're at?
Yeah, the big thing is how much work do you want to do? How many people do you want to manage? So I've managed people since I've been in the horticulture industry since the early 90s. I got into farming, and that's not what was high on my mind, was managing a lot more people. The best days I have are the days that I can work here and I'm kind of by myself. Which are not many days, but the thing is, it's just too much. You have to have that. So there lies the key is how big do you want to get, how many people do you want to manage. I had a really wise customer that I maintained their house, very big businessman, and he told me once that getting bigger doesn't always relate to making more money. At what point do you have to scale up to kind of get back to the comfort zone because you have so much more overhead? So we're real cautious of that. We only want to get so big. Plus two, we feel that we're offering a hand-tended item that's of high quality. We don't want to get too big to where that could suffer. I think some farms, that's the tendency, is to keep getting bigger, and in the long run something might suffer. Very rarely can you get bigger and keep the same quality. It can be done, but we're cautious of that. I think we're at a good size now. We've added the last 2 years. We've grown the last 2 years. But we want to make sure that how can we be more efficient on what we have and really dial that in instead of keep going.
And how do you make time to keep learning about other techniques? And
self-education is always key for anyone, I believe. The day you quit educating yourself, I believe you're going to start declining. But we learn here, we learn on the job. YouTube, I mean, internet is crazy. It's changed so much now, what's available information for somebody who wants to have a backyard garden or to get into farming versus even 5-6 years ago when we first started. And if you say 10 years ago, it's astronomically different. So there is so much information available, books written for market gardening, which is what we consider ourselves. There's so much information that's available now that you can educate yourself. But I would highly recommend anyone who wants to get into this, go work for someone. It's the easiest, best thing that you can do. I wished I could have already had a family that needed supporting, already had a business. There was no way I could just quit all that to go downgrade my pay to go work for someone. But it would have been the best thing. The young lady who's working with me, this is her 2nd year on the farm, and she's learned a lot. So seeing farms, seeing how they operate, how they have their facility set up, I think is really key for someone that wants to go into it. So what we did is we hired someone, a consultant, to try to help us through that. We visited farms. But there's so much information now, what's online, books that you can read. So yeah, you're constantly learning from that. But also, our 5th year, I'm nowhere near where I want to be. So if you think about it, you get one opportunity a year to grow tomatoes. So if you farm 20 years, you got 20 chances. How long does it take you to get it right? Or let's say a potato crop or whatever, you know. So for us, multiple things that we seed like every month or every 2 months, you can get good at those quick, like a radish. It doesn't take long to get really good at growing radishes because every 30 days I'm doing it again. Or seeing the results. But yeah, I think education is hard and we continue to do that.